Hey everyone, so out of all of the characters in Wano, Kaido has had by far the most interesting dialogue. But at the same time, I think a large part of the One Piece readership seems to be ignoring pretty much everything that he has been saying. And it's extremely important to listen to what the villain is saying, not because the villain is correct, but because the author is almost always setting up the villain to be proven incorrect over the course of the narrative, which means that the villain's dialogue can tell us a lot about where the narrative is headed. For example, the Joker pushes the belief that people will act just as evil as he does if put in the right situation, which means that naturally the climax of the movie has the ship scene that proves the Joker to be incorrect. I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of examples, since nearly all stories you can think of are going to do the same thing, though I do elaborate on this further on my second channel if you're interested. So today we're going to be doing a deep dive on the villain Kaido, and why everything that he's been saying so far that most readers have been ignoring, strongly indicates that there are certain key beats that have yet to come for the story of Wano. And in particular, there are 6 quotes that are red flags that I'm going to be looking at today. Now, I want to remind everyone that Wano was once a land of gold, probably because they used Albert, which is what you should be using if you like saving money more efficiently, without all the issues that come with traditional banks. Look, we all know how it is with banks. You get charged maintenance fees for no reason, you have to maintain a minimum balance, if you need to talk to your bank, they're gonna put you on hold on the phone forever, and you don't even get cash back on debit card purchases. That's why Albert is way better. You get everything traditional banks won't give you, so no overdraft fees. In fact, Albert will literally spot you $250 if you accidentally overspend. You also actually get 5 to 20% cash back on debit card purchases from places like McDonald's, Walmart, and Starbucks. And the best part is, you have direct contact with Albert's team of financial experts, Genius, who can help you make financial plans and answer any financial questions you have. And on top of all that, you actually get $150 for signing up with Albert by making the first qualifying deposit. So to get Albert right now, to get that $150, just hit the link in the description below, or go to albert.com/MrMorge to download the Albert app. And for a limited time, when you open an account and connect a qualifying direct deposit, you will get $150. So that aside, as I said, a common structure across pretty much all fiction is that the villain puts forward certain beliefs that will be revealed as flawed over the course of the story, as the unfolding events of the narrative will ultimately prove the villain's beliefs to be incorrect. You can see this in most every story, and of course across all One Piece arcs as well. For example, Crocodile constantly rants about how friendship is useless and you should never rely on others, all leading up to his entire plan being thwarted thanks to Vivi relying on her friends, the Straw Hats, and the Straw Hats of course constantly relying on each other and drawing strength from their friendship. It was made clear that the whole reason that they won was through the strength of their bonds that the Baroque Works organization did not have. Similarly, Doflamingo believes Riku isn't fit to be king, as Doflamingo and the rest of his family believe that might makes right and strength is what is most important for a king, which is of course shown to be false by the end, as King Riku's peaceful nature and his humanity is what draws the people back to his side even in the face of Doflamingo's strength, and ultimately proves Doflamingo wrong. You can even get down to basic arcs like Baratier, where Krieg obsesses over the strength of his weapons that supposedly make him the strongest, whereas by the end of the arc, Mihawk, Zoro, and Luffy all demonstrate that what truly makes one strong is the strength of one's conviction. The flip side to this idea that you will occasionally see in stories is when the story is going for a darker, more morally gray messaging, and it's not a traditional good triumphing over evil narrative. In those cases, villains may spout philosophies that do go unchallenged. For example, Oda himself did this in the one arc where good did not triumph over evil, Marineford. That was a messier arc with a darker outcome, hence Oda used this as an opportunity for more morally complex messaging, rather than the usual good guy values trumping bad guy values, with multiple antagonists actually providing powerful observations and beliefs that were actually shown to be true and were never indicated to be incorrect by the narrative. But even then, the commonality is that the story does deliver on what these characters are talking about. When Doflamingo says that whoever wins becomes justice, That is exactly the message that we see play out in the wake of the war. Essentially, if the author is having the villain put forward some sort of belief or philosophy, then that dialogue has purpose. Either it is leading to the villain being proven wrong, or it is leading to the villain being proven correct in some ways, but no matter what, any sort of concrete belief that is being posited needs to be leading to something in the story, or else it's just random, irrelevant dialogue that is being added in for no reason. For example, if instead of talking about how friendship is a weakness, Crocodile spent all of Alabasta talking about how humans are superior to fishmen, then that's not really coherent storytelling, since that has nothing to do with anything that Alabasta is about, and it doesn't actually lead to any narrative events over the course of the arc. So with all that being said, here are 6 very interesting statements Kaido has made that as of yet have no meaning to the story that we can assume are leading to something. So number 1 is something I discussed recently, which is that Kaido believes that the Alliance will lose faith in Luffy if he shows them proof of his defeat. I don't want to go over this point too much, as I've discussed it in past videos, but it really cannot be understated just how focused Kaido has been throughout the arc on breaking people's spirits. That is his ultimate aim that he keeps talking about, and he has stated that he believes that the way to do it is if the Alliance sees their leader defeated. And of course, Oda has made sure so far that all of Luffy's defeats throughout the Onigashima battle have taken place on the roof, separate from where anyone can actually see a defeated Luffy, which naturally is why characters are able to continue keeping their spirits strong and believing in Luffy. This suggests that they will need to come face to face with a defeated Luffy at some point this arc if Kaido's dialogue here is to have any meaning, as there is no point in having the villain establish what a true test of spirit would be if the protagonists are never meant to face that test. Now, number 2 is a very interesting quote that Kaido tells the Scabbards about the alliance that they have made with the Straw Hats. Kaido tells them that this alliance was a mistake, as he believes that when pirates know that you will lose, they will abandon you. That statement is absolutely huge, as it goes back to the longest running idea in this entire storyline to defeat Kaido, the very start of this whole alliance to take him down. It was established that the biggest issue would be trust, as betrayals are very common when allying with pirates. Now, we've of course seen plenty of betrayals as the storyline has played out, but what Kaido is saying here is very different, as it is a very specific claim. The idea that in the face of defeat, that is when the Straw Hats that the Scabbards are trusting will abandon them. The idea that when things fall apart is when they will show their true colors, meaning shit has to go south at some point and defeat has to seem inevitable for the bonds of the Alliance to be truly tested. After all, trust among the Alliance has been played up so much throughout the arc, and that trust has never really been a question among the Alliance during the raid. They've obviously all had each other's backs so far. But what Kaido is saying is that true loyalty can only be proven in the face of defeat, as he believes that the Straw Hats will abandon the Scabbards and Wano if they lose. Of course, we haven't gotten to a point so far where the Straw Hats actually thought they had lost, so Kaido's theory is yet to be tested. But Kaido obviously has a point. All this talk of loyalty and trust and alliances is easy when things are going well. It's only in the face of defeat that true loyalty can be proven, as that is the point Kaido believes that pirates will abandon them. Now, quote number 3 is a shot at the people of Wano. Kaido calls the entire nation of Wano a bunch of weak-spirited people who have accepted defeat and no longer try to fight back. This is also huge, as this is a claim that actually cannot be disproven by Luffy, by the Straw Hats, or really by any of the fighters in the raid. This is a claim that has nothing to do with if Luffy beats Kaido or not, as that would have nothing to do with Kaido's claim about the spirits of the people of Wano. And note that Kaido said this to Luffy only a few chapters ago, so he is making this claim despite seeing the people fighting in the raid. Because as a reminder, the raid members are not representative of the nation of Wano as a whole. The people fighting right now are a very small group composed of former Kazuki loyals, Ashura Doji's thieves, and some samurais from Udon. And they are of course filled with fighting spirit, but the larger populace of Wano, the actual nation of Wano, is in fact exactly how Kaido described. just a broken people living out their days in suffering who have long accepted that they cannot fight back against the ruling power. Even now, pretty much this entire nation is just gathered in the flower capital, moaning about how helpless they are. The story of Wano is that of a broken nation, as Kaido reiterates here. So it is likely that we will see the people of Wano prove that they have spirit in some way. After all, a recurring idea from the start of the arc is that only people who are willing to fight for themselves deserve to be saved. Now beyond that, quotes number 4 and number 5 are quotes specific to two very popular characters. First is Kaido's claim that there will never be another samurai as strong as Odin. Never? Never? Isn't there a Straw Hat we know that is literally the second most important character in the series, whose goal is to become the world's strongest swordsman, and who wants his name to reach the heavens? The character that is literally carrying Odin's sword right now? You might say that Zoro already got his moment against Kaido, but Kaido never acknowledged him as a swordsman as strong as Odin, because of course Zoro wasn't at that point, and Zoro himself made it clear that he was disappointed that he couldn't even bring Kaido to his knees. So Zoro himself feels dissatisfied with his showing against Kaido. So this bold claim by Kaido is still yet to be disproven, although it's very interesting that Zoro right now is getting a death sequence that clearly paralleled Luffy's experience, suggesting there may be more to show for Zoro by the end of this. And number 5 is for the Yamato fans. This was basically Kaido's entire monologue to her about how as an Oni, she will never be accepted by the people of Wano. I don't think there's anything too crazy to talk about here. We can all probably agree that Yamato at some point is likely going to be accepted by the people of Wano despite being an Oni, which suggests that she will need to do something pretty major to make them love her. Since as of right now, I mean, forget the people of Wano, even among just the raid fighters, she's been pretty unnoticed so far, since everything she's done so far has been solo work, like fighting Kaido in isolation, or going to the basement to deal with the bombs. So I would expect some major display from Yamato by the end of this that the people of Wano are able to clearly see that makes them accept her. And finally, this last quote is the most difficult to interpret. Kaido says that death is what completes a person. I personally think that no matter what, this sets up some character to die this arc. Maybe it's just Kaido himself, who knows? But really, what does this quote mean? Is this a case where the villain's quote is meant to be true in some way? Maybe a character dies honorably in a way that completes them and their legacy. Or maybe it's the opposite, and Kaido places too much value on an honorable death, as has also been suggested throughout the arc. Meaning maybe Kaido or some other character gets a disappointing death, or a death that leaves them unfulfilled. Maybe a bit of this idea has already come into play with Luffy's apparent death and rebirth, though exactly what happened here and why it was meaningful for his character is still a little muddy. At the time that I did my analysis on death being an important theme in Wano, I think a lot of people didn't take it fully seriously because how could you? This arc had so many death fakeouts. But I think at this point people are starting to understand that Oda is trying to do something important with death in this arc. So this quote by Kaido will likely have meaning one way or another by the end of it, likely with some character or another's death. So those are 6 particularly interesting statements of belief from Kaido that do suggest certain significant plot points may be around the corner. And I may even have missed some that you all picked up on. So any interesting Kaido quotes or bits of philosophy that seem set up by him to be proven or disproven, let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, then definitely like, comment, and subscribe.